Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Entertainment Headquarters, and welcome to my segment on the channel, Kaiju Connections. This is dedicated to all things in the Kaiju genre in cinema, television, and beyond. And right now, we're here to talk about, probably in my opinion, and maybe these gentlemen's opinion, one of the most unique kaiju film that's come out in quite some time. It's a more recent one. It came out in 2019. 2019, sorry. And it literally is the first, in my opinion, and the first of my knowledge, stop motion kaiju film. And the film we had to talk about is Howl from Beyond the Fog. And to talk about this particular film, as you can see in front of us, I have a panel of amazing guests. We have from Jedi Granville Productions, Mr. Jedi Granville himself, the Kaiju Enigma Ultra Jake Hall, and of course the Professor Dan Filament.
Good evening.
So, gentlemen, Howl from Beyond the Fog. I first heard about this probably the year it came out, but obviously I didn't get to see it for a couple of years later till it appeared on Tubi. And not knowing much about it, just knowing that it was stop motion, it really intrigued us because obviously the UK is well diverse and well known for its stop motion animation. You know, we've got Autumn Animation, which did the Wallet and Gromit films and television specials, and loads of different other things like Chicken Run and things of that nature. And then, of course, in America, you had Tim Burton created The Nightmare Before Christmas. And you've got to respect stop motion because it's one of the hardest types of filmmaking, which takes a lot of hard work and a lot of, craftsmanship.
That's right.
So we'll start with Jedi Granville. When's the first time you've seen Howl from Beyond the Fog?
I first heard. I mean, I'm kind of like you. I first heard about it back in 2019 when it was out, and I don't believe I saw it until like I think 2 years, maybe 2 years later, and I saw it on YouTube. I got to see it there, and was totally blown away by the artistry of how. And I don't like make corrections, but I mean I have to do this. This wasn't stop motion that this special effects was done with. It was actually done in puppetry. They would marination that was being done. They were being puppeted. They were all puppets. So, but no, I heard it from I heard it from 2019, and when I saw it 2 years later, I was kind of like, wow, this is such a gratifying how they took old techniques that are so out. Now I ain't gonna say outdated. It's just that they don't use them as much. But here was very, it was very authentic in telling the story, which is what I love about it. So that's the rub on that for me.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, it's not stop motion; it's puppetry. I forgot. Yeah, you're right. But so then, in effect, this is the first ever kaiju film that's been done by puppetry. Then. Which is still unique and still a hard craftsmanship. And just like when I said with Autumn Animation, who made like Chicken Run and all that, in the UK, you had the Anderson Company that did things like the Thunderbird, Stingray, Captain Scarlet. So very diverse in that kind of filmmaking as well.
Yeah.
Also, I have Knox and Sass in the chat. Hello, nice to see you.
Hello.
And Red Spirit 101 is already stated this is an amazing movie.
It is.
Yes.
I agree.
So, Jake, your first time seeing and hearing about Howl from Beyond the Fog?
Kind of like y'all, when it was in production in 2019. That's when I first heard of it, but it wasn't until uh, SRS released it on DVD, also Blu-ray, is when the first time I actually watched this. And when I first watched it, I was like, "Wow, what amazing cinematography! The puppetry, the design of the creature was very unique, and yeah, loved the storyline. And what really surprised me was when I first watched it, I was like, I'm getting so into it, and then it ended, and I'm like, dang, that wasn't a long film. And I re-looked at it; it was like only 35 minutes. I was like, wow, for 35 minutes, that to me was more like watching a TV show on TV than a movie. But for its design and all that, I was real impressed with it. So
It felt like say like the Jerry Anderson Company.
Century
Like
21.
yeah. Reminded me of like the Jerry Anderson productions, like the Thunderbirds, Stingray, Captain Scarlet, Joe 90, where it was like a season might have been a handful of 30-minute episodes.
Yeah.
But even though the episodes might have only been 30 minutes, they might have been working on one episode for like a couple of months, because just like you say, puppetry, getting the camera angles right, getting all the effects right. So if we're walking down the street, you'd have to have like the lighting in the right position. You'd have to have like the stage, which is like a giant miniature, in the right position, and all of the craftsmanship that went into the puppeteering of the Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet and Stingray was invested, you can tell, in Howl from Beyond the Fog.
Yeah. And it's interesting to note how they actually managed to frame the miniatures as though they were actual real life people. So they managed to get the depth of field and perspective right with the miniature scale that they were working in.
Mm-hmm. So what about you, Daniel? When's the first time you heard and seen Howl from Beyond the Fog?
The first time I saw Howl Beyond the Fog was a few months back on a video call, but I watched it again recently in preparation for this video. And being able to see it again in a much more clearer way, I was very much impressed by not just the way it was framed, cinematography speaking, but also in terms of the production design, how much effort they put into making the miniatures of the Kyushu landscape look like an actual landscape. Like it wasn't a photograph that they shot on location. They actually constructed that from the ground upwards. All of these little things, whether it be the marionettes, the clothing on the marionettes, the props they interact with, and of course the kaiju itself. Yes, this shot right here, this is just fantastic. It's one of the many shots in this short movie that I thoroughly enjoyed, including the artistry as well. Yeah. Now, this is a really, really good one with the kaiju in the background. And then you have this miniature power line in the front corner. And that absolutely sells the scope, size, and depth of field that the film presents.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so this was directed by Daisuke Sato, produced by Daisuke Sato, written by Daisuke Sato, music by Chow Chow, distributed by SRS Cinema, and it is only 35 minutes. And, Howl from Beyond the Fog is an independent tokusatsu kaiju short film written, directed, and, like I say, produced by Daisuke Sato. And, it was crowdfunded via Kickstarter in late 2017 and premiered at the Atami Kaiju Film Festival on November the 24th, 2019. It is inspired by the 1951 short story The Foghorn by Ray Bradbury, which also serves as the basis for the 1953 film The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
See, that makes sense because you look at this creature and he kind of gives a hint of that from the shape of him and everything, how he looks. But I favor him more like a Loch Ness monster type creature in a sense. For me personally, Yeah.
Yes. But it's amazing that the writers and the creator, Daisuke Sato, seen, looked into probably the backstory maybe slightly of the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms and actually found out it came from this small short story. And that inspired the creators from Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, so that this creator took his own kind of inspiration from the same small short story and turned it into HOWL from Beyond the Fog. And they're both unique, really interesting, amazing films. And like we know, the history from Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, it's without that, we would not be sitting here talking about Kaiju and Godzilla and this have a whole segment on my channel dedicated to the Kaiju genre if Beast from 20,000 Fathoms hadn't been such a huge success. So, Mr. Daniel Miller, aka Professor, you're a good storyteller. Would you like to take us on a journey with this film and tell us the story?
Absolutely. Now, the story takes place in Kyushu in the early 1900s Kyushu. The main character who we follow, he's a young boy who is being sent to Kyushu to live with his relatives upon hearing news of his brother's death. And so he arrives at the residence and meets his cousin, who he never knew existed, because there is a bit of a family story steeped in taboo.
And this is Ichi, the young boy, and this is his cousin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Akiri.
That was it. And again, I really just have to say that the way they created the marionettes for this particular film, that is just perfect craftsmanship. Really is fantastic. Everything from the form body right down to the fibers that create the hairs on the characters are just spot on. The same with the wardrobes as well. And you think that how long it took to not only get the material to look right, but also how they managed to scale it in the proportions of the marionettes that they were using in the film. And it's also interesting in the sense that they shot with marionettes on a miniature set rather than going live action, which is what you would expect from a kaiju movie. But this approach, using marionettes and miniatures, I find it to be a very refreshing take, personally.
Absolutely. That's why I like this so much, because that's why I potentially like it, because one, it's the first time that somebody's taken a story idea, which what you've just said could have been transformed into a new modern day kaiju film, but they decided to do something unique. But that's what makes this stand out, because it isn't live action, it's done through puppeteering, and it's so unique in its storytelling. It's not really, anything unique to story, but it's how it's shown, it's how it's brought to screen via the puppeteering, the colours, the craftsmanship, and that's why I really enjoy this film.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, earlier on in the film, I kind of skipped over this, but in the beginning, we see two characters carrying a crate over a wooden bridge between two mountains. Then in the fog, a shape emerges. We don't know exactly what this shape is until it comes much closer to the characters on the bridge. And then we see this giant head of this kaiju, this beast of the film. And I want to say that the entire section of the film, this whole opening act, it's perfect when it comes to its suspense. It plays it straight, and when the character stops dead in the middle of the bridge and that tension builds, it immediately gets you hooked. Which again, even though
the
marionation,
atmosphere, yeah, it's the atmosphere that's created among the opening sequence, and it's the fog. Obviously, Howl from Beyond. The fog is the title of the movie. It's the whole sequence that's it's quite. It reminds me of the film The Fog, actually. How it's like there's a build up of knowing that there's something there, and then when the event happens where the monster nebula rises and the two travelers on the bridge is kind of knocked and killed, and then you hear that roar, which is such a unique sound. It's like a ghoulish, ghostly sound that it just sticks with you.
Yeah, a bit like a distorted foghorn almost.
Yes.
Yes. Which is a brilliant sound design. Now, story moving forwards. The main character has met the cousin, and he asks his mother, "Why didn't you tell me about her?" Then she goes over the story about the cousin. She is her sister's daughter, and her sister basically disgraced the family by having her child with a stranger, and as such she basically disowned or condemned her sister and her daughter. The mother died, which, if I remember correctly, was by suicide, whereas the daughter, who is the main character's cousin, she's basically locked away in the attic of the house as almost like that one person that you're ashamed of in the family.
Yeah, because I think the child was conceived out of wedlock.
Yeah,
and stuff of that nature. So back in that time, the show would have brought disgrace to the family, and obviously Japanese traditions, and following the family and all of that kind of stuff in that era was very important. And it's not just that it wouldn't have just been the disgrace to the family then, but like the ancestry and all that. It's like tainting the blood kind of thing. So she was kind of basically hidden from the rest of the world. And then, of course, at the same time that's going on, you have these men that are wanting to buy all the houses in the local village because they want to then create and build a dam. And the mother won't sell her home to the businessman who was this man. Because basically she wants to keep the family home. She wants to keep the family traditions and keep the secrecy of her land and all that together. And this is where he basically finds out, I think he finds out the secret of the family and the daughter, and he threatens to reveal it to the village and stuff of that nature. And this is where things get really more interesting. And another interesting thing is you find out that Chikiri, the cousin, has a connection to Nebula, the monster. So, yes. So, would you like to continue, Dan?
Yeah. Okay, so after we're told of this plot to build more houses on the land, the main character goes with his cousin to the side of the river by the shrine, and she introduces him to the kaiju of the movie. And I have to say, this is a very brilliant sequence from how it's shot, how it's paced, and of course, the interactions and the reveal of the kaiju between the main characters themselves. The cousin explains that she's not afraid or fearful of the kaiju because she feels a kinship because she's an outcast or a pariah of her own family as much as this kaiju doesn't really belong in this modern world, let alone a human world. And this is something I really do enjoy about Howl from Beyond the Fog is how it approaches the kaiju formula, but from a more spiritual, even sacred angle. Similar to how GMK shows the kaiju as guardian monsters, as deities and gods, Howl Beyond the Fog does the same thing, except it's not so much a god that's worshipped, but rather it's a spirit that needs to be revered and respected.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of
Also
almost like
reminds me
Quran,
of,
right? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah,
that's right.
like Varan, yeah, and it also gives me like elements of the Damaging trilogy.
Mhm.
How
Mhm.
he is like a god who is worshipped, and then he becomes the god of vengeance for those that harm the villagers around him. And there's two separate stories and two separate groups of villages and people that cause harm, and he becomes this, spirit of vengeance upon anyone that attacks the village. And the magic serpent also kind of connected in this way. And I wish, we have Toho that does like these big Godzilla movies and this, they're all set in modern times or during World War time. I would love to see Toho or another studio create like a kaiju universe, but it's set within the past eras. Like in the 19, like the samurai era, the shogun era, and that would be a really interesting thing to do, to show like a world where you've got these people like samurais, soldiers in the past that have to live among these, fantastical creatures.
My God,
And
I think.
yeah, and they treat them like gods and spirits.
Mm.
And it would have been great if they could have connected the magic serpent to damaging, and other, and even this could have been like some sort of spin-off from that world.
Well, you want to know? I mean, this is one thing I realized with Asian philosophy, or just in general. I mean, Japanese. I mean, really, if you think about anything Asiatic in terms of that, is the simple fact is they have such a host of mythology going back thousands of years that they truly dig up and incorporate them into story. I mean, Godzilla himself, most people won't see this because they just see like, oh, let's just say man in a rubber suit and blah blah blah. It's like, no, he's a symbol of what it represents about how man treats themselves by using nuclear, armament, and how it can pretty much destroy the human race or destroy the world itself. What, and this is one of the things I love about how Asians really take certain things, some of the simplest things, and really give you a more robust take on like what are they really saying, whether it be about, you know, child endangerment or family separation or divorce or something along those lines, and just put it into a fantastic narrative. But sometimes, like I say, it's overshadowed by these things. But it's like break it down, peel back the layers, you might see something that's really there. And this is one of the things I love about film is that I easily see it, but it's just that it's kind of hard to get others to understand what it's really saying. Because I've said it's kind of like something me and Jake and Daniel was saying about King Kong, Peter Jackson's version. I see it as a good movie. I mean, it's a decent movie, but the metaphors that are in there are too much head on. And when I say that, I mean it's like they are not put there like naturally. Like I say, with the Japanese or China, anyone, Asiatic, they do it naturally where you see it and you kind of like say, oh, that's what they're trying to say, or is that what they're actually hinting at, And I feel like Westerners, some of them get a good idea of how that's done, but I feel like they really have it on the nose how they present those kind of narratives a little bit more when it comes to film. I mean, it could be in magas, it could be in something written, but I feel with film, which is my thing that I love the most, I really love how they bring those kind of anecdotes to the screen. And like I say, I kind of leech on it when I see those things, and it's like it's so beautifully done. And this movie here is no exception.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
is it just me? And when the creature roared, did y'all kind of get a hint of maybe a little bit of Biolante's roar a little bit?
I actually felt a bit more of Cloverfield in there at first.
Because when it kind of starts out that
Yeah.
it kind of almost reminded me a little bit of how the beast form of Biolante's roar started, but it was more, they tried to do more of like a horn type roar. So I was just curious.
Don't do it. Don't do it. No, don't do it.
Don't be surprised.
Keep it special.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So as the film progresses, the E.G. and his cousin, they're kind of bonding. They've bonded over the reveal of Nebula. Mm-hmm. The people who are trying to knock the other houses down to build the dam in other properties, they basically decide to threaten the mother by kidnapping and killing the blind cousin, Takira, and the hire basically into the water during this moment. And this, for me, is one of the most beautiful segments in this film, where you have kind of this animated segment where she's, her mother committed suicide. She's blinded as a child, and she's now having this moment expecting her life to come to an end as she's falling deeper into this lake. And she's having like this, where they see your life flashes before your eyes kind of moment. And it's all an animation with bright, beautiful colours and sequences. And then you hear this other voice, and it's like the voice of her mother calling out to her. And suddenly you see this shadow under the lake rising in the water and approaching her. And before she got hurried into the lake, the reason they kidnapped her during daytime is because the creature Nebula, apparently the villagers and these men have discovered or have figured out in their mind that Nebula only rises from the lake at night time, and when it's, this fog rising from the waters of the lake. And so she chooses to rise every evening. But for whatever reason, this time, she then chooses to rise during the daytime with Takiri in her mouth. And saves her life. And the young cousin takes her and like saves her life. And this is where suddenly Nebula decides to go on a rampage.
Mm-hmm. And can I just say, I just want to add a little anecdote here. This is kind of interesting. I'm assuming you guys have ever seen the late 70s Godzilla cartoon, right? Or ever heard of it, at least?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's kind of weird because I'm thinking that someone here in the States took a hint at something along the, and they might have saw Varan, because Varan does this same damn thing, figure like it won't come up or anything like that. Well, there's an episode called The Earth Eater, and this Earth Eater does not come out into the light because it's so bright because it's been underground for so long that its lights I mean its eyes can't be can get sensitive to the light and everything. Well, the crew, the Calico, basically feel like, well, it's not going to come out in the daytime. We can strike in the daytime. All that, all all that is pretty much all she wrote. It's like, no, that's you forget those rules because this thing breaks those rules instantly when it starts to rise out of the ground and shows like broad daylight. Yeah, you guys are effed right now, and it shows right there. I'm thinking that the producers, the creators, must have took a hint from some past kaiju films in order to get inspired by that. Because the simple fact is, like anything, like any organism, just because you think you have a hand on something that's going to do what you think it's going to do, who's to say they're going to break that rule instantly because you say it? I mean, they are their own individual, life form. And like any life form, if they choose to break that rule, but that's because they're doing it for survival tactics. And that shows right there, this thing right here is a survival. It's something's like, well, you think like I'm going to stay here in a huddle and just be quiet about it. It's like, I'm about to break some eggs on your head right now. I just love that. I just wanted to bring that up because it's funny how that episode showed that interaction, and it's like, yeah, someone got inspiration from past kaiju films, some kind of way, someone in America.
Oh, definitely. Well, every modern or current, like, film, like monster film, will take some sort of inspiration, I think, from a kaiju film. Whether it's, seeing the figure standing in a foggy doorway or something, that will remind you of Godzilla rising from the ocean and like walking in the fog somewhere in the distance. But what ends up happening next is the developers, after she's rescued, they fire at Nebula. So then he starts rampaging through the town, hunting these developers and the leader, the guy who I showed you before. And because of this, he starts basically destroying the village by stumbling through it, knocking like lanterns over, causing the village to be set on fire, which is part of this scene. And eventually they he makes his way towards their old home where the mother who is obviously Kiri's aunt rejected her, and unfortunately she's in the house when the Nebula hits the house, destroys the house, and continues on his wages rampage and a hunt for these developers. And this is where EG and Takiri go back to the house and they find the mother. Well, her aunt and his mother. And she's now full of grief and apologizes for treating Takiri badly and, wishes things had changed or were different. She sadly then passes away, and this is where Akiri, and EG decide we need to try and help stop Nebula. And the next scene is where you see a group of fireworks over this bridged area, and it is the developers luring Nebula. And when Nebula gets towards this bridged area, they've got a cannon waiting for him. And boom, the straight Nebula, who originally falls to the ground, and you just assume a Nebula's this is the end. Then Akiri and EG get close to Nebula and, kind of talk to Nebula, and suddenly Nebula rises from the ground again and soon takes out the developers' men in the lead with, for me, one of the most unique kind of powers I've seen from a kaiju. So Howl from Beyond the Fog is unique not only because this kaiju resides in this lake and has veins on its back and sounds like this ghostly foghorn creature and camouflages itself in the fog. It uses the fog as a weapon.
Yes.
because it has the ability to inhale massive mouthfuls of fog and then exburst it back onto anybody. And you see it use this power against the developers' men and like crush them off the bridge and knock things over. And then there's one man standing, which is the evil developer, who is now standing on the bridge, and he kind of knows he's done for. And Nebula just takes one bite and just bites down, crushes the bridge, and also crushes in him to death. And this is where we next see Nebula kind of just slowly disappear, and I'm assuming goes back to the lake to live off the rest of its life.
I could say it does that, but I'm thinking, just me personally, it's going to. I mean, it could be going to the lake, but I'm thinking it's moving on to new territories in terms of its existence. That's just my take on that. I mean, because it's a key. What's her name? The cousin was saying, Ikiri. It just wants to live like her. I want to live. This thing wants to live. It doesn't care. It doesn't care about no domination. It doesn't care about greed. It doesn't care about the petty things that we as human beings crave for. The only thing it craves for is its own individual existence. And I feel that that's the thing about it. I mean, it could, like I say, I guess it's always up to interpretation. It could be going back to the lake. But me personally, I think it's just because she said it's going home, so it could be going to the lake. But I think like it's going to somewhere else where this thing originated from.
Also, did anyone get this feeling because the mother committed suicide in the lake? Somehow our mother was connected to Nebula, and it gave them this psychic lock. So when she was finally free of being kept in the attic because the house is destroyed and he's now sadly passed away, and they've kind of like just forgiven her for how things happened, they now are free to then wander off and go where they want and do what they want. So because of that, maybe Nebula, who was secretly like a guardian to Kiri, no longer has a purpose now to protect her because now she's free, and maybe now Nebula is also now free to do as in what it pleases. And as you said, Jedi, maybe that is to find a new home and live out in peace.
But here's my question. I have to ask this. Was Akira, was she, I mean, she was blind. I know that she was, but was she able to see at the end there? I mean, was she able to, because the way she was pointing at things, like, is she able does she have her sight back? I mean, I didn't know if she did or not, I couldn't really tell in that moment.
Looking at the subtitles, I think she said, I can hear. Then she points in the directions of where she hears the sound coming from. Because she still can't see, but because she doesn't have her sight, she has heightened hearing.
Yeah.
So she's pointing her cousin into the direction where she can hear the sound better than he can.
How about you, G. Cole? How do you feel about this particular film and like the story itself?
Like I said, I really enjoyed it. It had both sort of dynamic feel to it. I mean, you understood the story, the tragedy that the cousins went through, the greed of these men, and I guess you could say that Nebula is kind of like a guardian to these people and has a connection with Takiri. Is that how you say it? Takiri?
And E.G. is the young boy.
E.G. Yeah, and I mean this film, for as unique as it has been, it was very entertaining. Loved the story aspect, loved the marionettes that they did, and this kaiju was definitely unique, especially with its powers to inhale the fog and then just blasted like a ray at the
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
So,
I just love the design of it too.
oh yeah,
Part of some of the filmmaking aspects of how they brought Nebula together.
I was going to
And
say,
like it,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to, as you can see, such a unique design.
Yeah, because I was looking at that was what's so great about this film too is that so I saw the film by itself when I first saw it, but then I saw that added footage of the behind the scenes. I was like, whoa! I mean, they really did a great detail of the costume. As Dan was saying, the costuming, the hair design, and all these things. And I'm like, they really put in the effort to make this come to light. I was like, okay, that's dedication for you right there. Showing how they were making this come to work.
Yeah.
No, definitely such a unique film. It feels very old school. It feels very traditional. It feels very unique for its time, especially in the year 2019. You know, it's very rare we're getting films that are either made via puppetry or even, like I said, stop motion. Um, because it's such a hard craft, and you've got to be really good at the craft to make it work.
Yeah.
And even though this was done independently, I think the creator, the writer, the director, the producer, he did just a fantastic job of putting this together. And I think nobody talks about this film as much as others, and I think it is a film that should be talked about because of its tone, its feel, the hidden messages in the plot. It's about grief. It's about forgiveness. It's
Greed.
about greed. It's about protection. There's so many hidden metaphors throughout the course of this plot that's what makes this for me so unique and stand out. And it's the setting. It's like set during the samurai, the shogun era. You don't get kaiju's like films of that nature these days, and so that's another reason why this for me is one of my, I guess, hidden favorites of the kaiju genre, which I can go back to time and time again and watch it, especially the fact that it's only a half an hour film.
Yeah.
35 minutes and boom, you're done.
Yeah. I also want to add on to that, as well as the production design and the direction and the story, I absolutely give praise to the tenacity and patience that the production team had with this movie. Because when you look at the behind the scenes and you look at how long the project was in development for, since 2007, and then going into February 10 years later, they actually start casting the characters, the kaiju, and then start meticulously designing all of those miniature set pieces. That itself is just incredible. It's great craftsmanship, but it also shows the patience and time and labor of love that was put into a movie, which, by contrast to many other kaiju movies, is quite a short film.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's a bit about the production. Production of the Nebula suit with the cooperation of veteran suit maker Kenzo Murase. Is that right?
Murase.
Murase, yeah, Kenzo Murase was crowdfunded through Kickstarter beginning on November the 30th, 2017. The campaign ultimately reached 150% of its goal. From 140 backers, a Nebula Rod puppet and Guggenol, as well as the Tekiri puppet, were constructed in advance to shoot a teaser trailer. Principal photography began in January 2019. A pilot reel of the film was shown at J-Fest in July of 2019. The film wrapped in November of that year with a total of 380 shots for 31 scenes. It officially premiered at the second Atami Kaiju Film Festival on November the 24th, accompanied by a special talk from director Daisuke Sato and modelers Kenzo Murasi and Tomohiro Matsumoto. So just that alone, 380 shots for 31 scenes. And this is a half-hour film. Imagine if they were trying to make this puppeteering film 2 hours. You're going to be talking about at least probably up to like 700 or 800 shots.
I mean, that's like I say, that's a lot of man hours. You gotta take into calculation of like, when do you start, when do you finish a shot, and knowing that, you got to start, and that's the same with stop motion. You got to start like early morning and then late the evening, but it's like, that's 1 or 2 shots. Then it's like the next day, 2 or 3 more shots. It's a painstaking kind of craft, but as you mentioned before, it's a lot of dedication, and I think it's a lot of love that's required to do that, because I don't think you can do these kind of things without the love of doing it. Because if you're just doing it just to say, oh, I'm trying to make a good buck, I'm trying to do this, it's like, well, then you're missing the whole point of doing it in the first place. I mean, whether it be 30 minutes or an hour, maybe even 2 hours, you have to invest yourself, blood, sweat, and tears, with the joy of knowing that you're bringing something to light that you've had in your back pocket for over a decade and bring it to here, So
Look at it. I was just going to say, if you look at any sort of physical, like filmmaking, from normal filmmaking, look at Ray Harryhausen, how many times he would have had his shot. Look at the cell animation that Disney used to do. Like, it would take them three years to make The Lion King, because every cell had to be hand drawn, put together. Autumn animation, like I see in the UK, who do Wallace and Gromit, and Tim Burton with Nightmare Before Christmas, James and the Giant Peach, which was a mixture of live action and of course stop motion. And it's a shame that it's a dying form of filmmaking, because it is hard work, but when you see it revived and done well, it lasts forever in your mind. Yeah. And this goes back to me to another puppeteering show that for me was one of the best puppeteering films ever made, The Dark Crystal.
Oh, yes.
And then, of course, Netflix with Jim Henson Studios took a risk to bring it back with The Dark Crystal, The Age of Resistance, which they were hoping would be a huge success and gain enough streams that they would continue the show. And it took so long to make. When it hit streaming, it did well, but not enough for Netflix want to renew it for a second season. And that is the reason why they never renewed it for a second season. It's because they didn't think the time frame and the effort and the work that went justified the amount of streams that the show got on Netflix, which is a shame, because for me, I was one of the first ones to watch that show, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it took me way back to when I was a kid.
Well, that's what makes me kind of think right there. I'm wondering who's the core audience when it came to that, because I know for myself, I would definitely be one of those who'd be invested in it, but excluding, the professor here, you have a generation that are more focused on the keyboard effects and things being done, and they're not looking at, the really get your hands dirty kind of, motion of doing something, So I was like, I don't know. I mean, it's sad knowing that is the case. You take an old technique and you bring it back, you put it into context, and you feel like, okay, this is going to work. It's going to come out,
Mm.
Unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't always go that way. I mean, like, I know when we mentioned Project Hail Mary, the alien rock in there,
Precisely.
that's done basically all with puppetry. That's all
Yeah.
puppetry. It's some scenes that's done with a little CG for sweetening, but the whole technique of bringing it to life, all puppets.
That's
So
right.
And we hit you, me, Jedi, and the professor. Us three did the Forbidden Planet, and it was so weird how I could have kicked myself because you asked the question at the time. What film to this day and age stand out and has like the same kind of scenage and same kind of like lighting and techniques from today's films compared to then? And I should have said Project Hail Mary. And but you've now seen it and you honestly can see what I see in the film.
yeah, because it's there. I mean, like I say, that inspiration is there, and I feel like that should be the artistry too of how you bring certain things to light. I mean, like I say, with Rocky, use an old technique to bring it to character, and knowing that it doesn't have any eyes, no kind of facial expressions, the movement gives you the feeling of what you're looking at. So yeah.
And also, it's also, if you look at things, there must be an audience somewhere for these kind of films because it's the first non-sequel reboot of the year that's crossed the 300 million mark. It's a massive success. And I agree with what you said, Jedi. It's a kind of film that deserves to be mentioned in the award season next year.
Should. But
I think it'll definitely get put down for special effects.
Yeah. I'd like to quickly add on to what Jedi was saying earlier about the challenges of making a film like this, whether it be using practical methods like puppetry or stop motion. There's also the sense of prioritizing which sequence to shoot first, because not every movie or TV show is shot in order. Like, it's not start from beginning, then to middle, then to end. It's all picked out based on the effect sequences. Like, if you look at Howl from Beyond the Fog, they must have done the kaiju scenes first, because they were, in the grand scheme of things, kaiju cinema in general, the kaiju sequences, they're the most crucial ones. They're also the most technically involved sequences to shoot. And to think that
I think that's
easy
why,
to set up either.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. But I think that's why if you look at like films like the modern Godzilla Monsterverse, that's why they release a teaser a year ahead because they've already put out they've already, before starting production, mapped out the design of what creatures or kaiju they're using. That's
right.
one thing I noticed about not this particular film, Supernova, because they showed nothing, and I think they've done that for a deliberate reason, which we now know why, because they didn't want to reveal who the big bad's going to be in the film. They wanted to try and keep it a surprise, but the film before that, Supernova, a year in advance, months in advance. I've noticed with the Monsterverse what they seem to be doing before they even hit production. They release a title teaser.
Yeah.
So, for example, when they did the title teaser for New Empire, they released that teaser where you seen Scar King's eye, so you knew who the villain was.
Yeah.
And it was to grab the audience. And then we got Cranky Kong and not fucking muscle ass fucking.
right.
I was expecting this muscular rising Kong, and I was bigging myself up for this muscular big fucker. It was like, it was going to be, in my mind, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger versus Stallone. It's a kaiju, the apes.
Yeah.
And we got fucking Cranky Kong and Donkey Kong in a battle.
I mean,
and I was pissed off.
I have to say, it's like, we got this like lanky looking motherfucker fighting Kong. I mean, it's like, seriously? I mean, I know he's got strength, but it's like Kong could knock this guy out in one punch. What the
Anubis.
Hello,
Hey, what's up, dude?
Lucas.
Hey,
What's up, Nugus?
so yeah,
But that's
Hmm.
going back to what you're saying, Daniel. I
Hmm.
100% agree. Saying that they would have mapped out the kaiju effect in the design and the logistics of all that before filming the main story.
Yeah.
And they've done that. I think that's how they map out the kaiju in the monsterverse. Is they basically once they've got story pen to paper or typewriter or whatever the hell they use these days, iPad, whatever. Once they know and the studio and writers have agreed this is the story, this is the plot, this is where we're going with the movie, they then way before they even put the cast together, start pre-production, they get the animators together and go, right, bang, we've got Cranky Kong coming into the next movie. One designed, we want them put together before we even head into production. And by doing it that way, they then, like you say, can treat rid of these titillating teasers that disappoint you.
Hmm. I mean,
And
if you want teasers that sell disappointment, I have one example. That's the Brand New Day teaser, in my opinion, Spider-Man Brand New Day, because you notice how look they did the same strategy with No Way Home, and they got away with it because there was a good payoff. Here, I'm just seeing a rinse and repeat, but it's just not working because you can tell that there are gaps there in the visual effects that clearly haven't been ironed out, and
yeah.
it's just no,
Well,
it's just
I
a no
think
for me.
the thing about the
Hmm.
teaser for No Way Home, they deliberately left out. It was deliberately left out because if they had left certain bits of them scenes in, you would have knew straight away the other two Spider-Men were in the movie.
Yeah,
I
and
think it was
that's why it
one of the worst
works.
kept. It was one of the worst kept
Hmm.
secrets though in Hollywood because everyone knew they were in the film.
Yeah.
Even people were saying why there's that particular shot where Tom Holland Spider Man's flying towards. I don't know if it was Doctor Octopus or something, and you had I don't know if it was Electro or somebody
Hmm.
jumping out at the same time. It's like, so why is he jumping towards Tom Holland, but the
Yeah.
other character's jumping towards thin air? Because he obviously was jumping towards the other Spider-Man that was about to enter the scene.
Hmm.
But obviously they didn't show it, but it made it look goofy in the trailer.
Hmm.
And so people I knew straight away that that's an incomplete scene. Oh, they've chopped it deliberately to hide the fact that we're getting Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back.
Yeah.
And that's like you say, Daniel, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
this is why trailers, coming attractions. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Literally.
Yeah.
No, this is one of the reasons why I feel that's why I say I don't mind trailers, but give us trailers where it's an appetizer. It's
Hmm.
not the main course. It's not the thing that you're serving. I mean, you serving people up to whet their appetite.
Hmm.
That's what an appetizer does. You give them the whole shebang. It's like, why should I go watch this? You know. And I've seen many trailers that have done this in the past, and it's so disappointing.
Yeah. What about the trailers for Peter Jackson's King Kong though?
Oh, they were perfect in my
Yeah.
I was
opinion.
gonna say they wouldn't. Yeah, I was gonna say they wouldn't. Yeah, because we already
Tell
know.
you,
Go ahead.
yeah. Oh, no, carry on, Cheddar.
No, I was gonna just say. I mean, it's just an example because you already know what's gonna take place, but it's done in a way how is he going to get from this from A to B in this movie? So that's the thing about that. So yeah.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is I love the movie, but I think the trailers were misleading, and that is even for Godzilla 2014.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like
Mm.
the whole where the plane opened up and they flew out, and I was thinking this looks they're actually taking Godzilla. Well, they did take him serious, but I thought they're actually going to really push this to be that epic. It's going to rival Marvel.
Yeah.
That's how the trailer felt at the time.
Yeah.
The
The
teaser.
first.
And,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
no, go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say the first time I saw that trailer when it was dropped on YouTube back 12 years ago, when they got onto the first person perspective of one of those Halo divers going into the San Francisco city, and it's all just fire and ash in the
Yes.
distance, and then you notice in the corner of the of the character's vision, the thunder illuminates Godzilla's silhouette. He looks there, and it's just Godzilla towering in this shadows and darkness, looking ominous and destructive and powerful, which is exactly what I was hoping uh, the MonsterVerse Godzilla would look like. And for the trailer, it it had me convinced until they revealed the Mutos. It had me convinced this would be Godzilla centered. Godzilla is destroying civilization. Godzilla is unstoppable. He is literally solidifying himself as king of the monsters, god of destruction, until we got the whole Muto plot revealed spoiled.
Oh,
Hey,
definitely.
I'm good at Anubis. I did the same thing in Anubis, so I feel
Yeah.
you.
Oh, well, of
I
course.
don't think you're a true Godzilla fan if you don't come. I mean, Kane, or whatever the hell you want to call it, at that trailer and the trailer for the King of the Monsters.
Oh,
I'm gonna be honest with you. The King of the Monsters trailer. I don't know how y'all felt about it, but I actually started to kind of cry watching that. I don't know
because
why.
of the music.
Yes, the music. Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, I got it.
Oh, I just remember the end bit where you just seen Godzilla and Ghidorah clashing. I was like, let fucking go.
Yes.
Let's do
And this is
I'm even getting the goosebumps thinking about it.
yeah. Yeah. And this is where I say the King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong trailers, despite what the ultimate films ended up being, though they're not everyone's cup of tea, they delivered exactly what was advertised. And they did it brilliantly without jerking anyone off or peeking around the bush. They said, here are
Anthony.
kaiju smashing cities to pieces and fighting one another. Here's a giant monkey punching a giant lizard. There you go.
I really actually liked the Godzilla and versus Kong trailer. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But with this said, final thought on Howl from Beyond the Fog. We'll start with Mr. Kaiju Enigma Ultra Jake Hall himself.
I really enjoyed this film. It was unique for the time. For as the time that they took to make this and all of that, the marionette puppets, the storyline, the scenery, the design of the kaiju. I mean, it was very good. Um, I enjoyed every aspect of it, and for me, it's a. You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. It's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
So I really enjoyed this film.
Mr. Jedi Granville.
All right. Well, I was very passionate there, Jake. I got to give it to you. I'm kind of the same way. I mean, this is it's very rare when you see something come along, I mean, at least nowadays, because that's the sad part. It seems nowadays you only see so many diamonds in the rough come along, and we mentioned Project Hail Mary a couple of times, and to know that when this film came out, it's like, okay, I have my reservations. I don't know, you hear word of mouth, you hear some things. You're like, yeah, okay, maybe. I mean, I don't just because you say it is, it don't mean it's true. You see it for yourself, you begin to realize, like, this is one of the reasons why they told you, because they didn't want you to be miss out on something, especially on the big screen. Because I feel it's better on the big screen than on television. So with this film, it's one of those enigmas that is very rare to come along. Hopefully, not always. Hopefully, there'll be more like this. But then again, we can only dream. For me, no, I gotta say, I'm kind of like what Jake. I'm probably gonna get. In fact, I'm gonna just say this. I'll give it a 9.5. for I mean, I feel
Nice.
with that. I mean, I won't get a full 10. I mean, not to say it isn't worth five, the five. I feel like I say just ease it back a little bit, but in the end, no, it's and maybe because not saying not because it's in live action. It's just that I think you got to give it a little, something to say. Like, okay, maybe it could be a little bit more, but I'm gonna leave it at that with a 9.5. So but it's definitely worth the angst that it deserves because it's still here, even almost 10 years later, nearly 10 years later. So it's like, yeah, it deserves that.
Hmm. Finally, the Professor Dan Miller.
I have to say, this film is worthy of a full 10 out of 10. It's a movie that's, yes, it's only 35 minutes, which is short compared to movies today, but this is the reason why I give it a 10 out of 10. It's a labor of love. It's a standout in a genre made famous by one of the biggest monsters in cinema history. And it's done in such a way where it blends traditional methods, albeit not exactly the methods that you would completely expect from kaiju cinema. In this case, using marionettes and rod puppets instead of using actual people in suits, as was pioneered in the first Godzilla. But it has such an incredible, a really incredible presentation in the sense that every single sequence is carefully photographed and just wonderfully presented in the final cut of the film. The story itself, it already has many key themes you'd find across the kaiju genre. Like there's greed, there's grief, there is redemption, there's even outcasting or ostracizing, and there's even a sense of,
Forgiveness.
yeah, forgiveness as well. And what's really good is that the sense is that the kaiju is not an outright destructive uh, behemoth that's intent on destroying everything just because the plot says so. It's a much more subdued and a lot more dialed back sort of kaiju, which I actually welcome wholeheartedly. This approach to the kaiju genre. It also solidifies kaiju as meanings and as metaphors and also as warnings, portraying them as these almost ethereal and spiritual, in fact, godlike entities rather than creatures that are misunderstood or just mutated by acts of human hubris. But yeah, for me, this is a full 10 out of 10. Really great creature design, fantastic production design, really nicely directed, and just overall a labor of love that deserves a lot more recognition and a lot more talking about than it currently has right now.
Hence why I brought it to Kaiju Connections.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
So, all I'm going to say is pretty much mirror what everybody else has said. Just amazing craftsmanship. Puppetry is a dying art form. It needs to be contained. It needs to continue, and we are going to get it continue thanks to Guillermo del Toro, who
Yes.
created last year's Pinocchio, which was also, I believe, puppeteering mixed in with stop motion. He's actually started a stop motion company. So he wants to actually keep the art form alive. So he's going to do that. But the film, great craftsmanship, great music, great ambience in the feels and the tones of the movie. Nebula's an amazing looking creature. The story itself, like you said, Daniel, it's full of forgiveness, it's full of grief, it's full of control, it's full of greed, it's full of sadness, in a little bit of hope. I love these kind of movies. I love this kind of style of filmmaking. It's a style that, like I say, will need to be preserved, and hopefully, Guillermo del Toro is going to achieve that with his company. But going back to the director, Daisuke Sato, a little bit of his history. Daisuke Sato is a Japanese modeler and filmmaker. After working on a modeler on a handful of tokusatsu films in the 2000s, he began production on an adaptation of Ray Bradbury's The Foghorn in 2007, but lost all of the footage in a hard drive failure before it could be released. He loosely revisited the idea over a decade later to create his directorial debut, the independent kaiju film Howl from Beyond the Fog, which he also wrote, produced, shot, edited, and more. He has since formed a working relationship with director Hiroto Yokokawa and his company 3Y, serving as the director of photography on Ghost Cat Fantasy, director of special effects and director of photography on Hoshi 35 from 2023, which is another unique kaiju film that features a puppet, and it also has Suitmation, and it also has the actress who plays Miki from the Heisei era is the lead. It's the first to return to acting since she retired after many years. He directed and wrote Hanawat Appears and is associate director of special effects on the upcoming Fukyu Raptor 2026. He also directed the special effects for the American film Iki Boys, helped model the kaiju suit for Yuzo the Biggest Battle in Tokyo, and was the producer and director of special effects on Brush the Gods 2024, which is something I also want to see. And he is also connected to the Godzilla franchise because he was also a assistant modeler on Godzilla, Mothra and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack, The Grand Zeas, Godzilla Final Wars, Gamera the Brave, and Brush of the Gods. So he has quite an extensive history within the world of kaiju cinema. So I just have to give him a shout out because what he put together for Howl from Beyond the Fog, for me, is sheer genius. And thank you for trying to preserve the craftsmanship of puppeteering and bring it to the kaiju genre.
Beautiful.
Oh, and with that said, it gets a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
So, my friends, coming up next on Kaiju Connections, we're coming back on the 12th of April because there's a certain person that's turning 50. I mean, sorry. Sorry. I got the age wrong. I'll
sure?
not mention his age.
I mean, he might
Case
be
I'll embarrass him.
55, you know?
Yes, but a certain somebody by the name of Kaiju Enigma Ultra, Jake Hall. He is a good friend of this channel, been a supporter of this channel, a friend of ours. So to celebrate his birthday, I offered him the opportunity to choose a film for us to review together as a celebration for him. And he picked none other than Rodan 1956. So that is coming on the 12th at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. UK time, and there's a lot more coming to the entertainment headquarters. But Jedi Granville, what is coming to your channel?
Well, I got a handful of things coming up. Like tomorrow, I will be with a certain someone, and we're going to be discussing a 1993 film, Blood In, Blood Out, which is something that been trying to get off the ground for the longest time, but to no avail. But hey, that's here and there to say. Tomorrow, I mean, not tomorrow. That's after tomorrow. After tomorrow, Sunday, I will be hooking up with Mr. Mark Justice, and we're going to be discussing Fate, which I'll probably do on my own channel sometime in the future, where we discuss, and it's strictly Toho films, but non-Godzilla films, which ones are like the more favorite of the studio. I mean, as far as Takusatsu, and coming next Saturday, I'm going to be hooking up. Hopefully, I know he will be. Mr. GJ Anubis, where we're going to be discussing the 2007 film, which I feel is not getting a lot of hype like it should be, but the 2007 Robert Rodriguez Quentin Tarantino joint Grindhouse. Because it's
Nice.
two films in one, but and also just kind of go forward in time. Sometime in May, me and Nubis are going to be hooking up again, where I'm going to be on his channel, and we're going to be discussing the spotlight of Chronos. So
Yes.
that's in that. So yeah, but other than that,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that'll be. I'll have to add that. I've never actually seen Chronos, believe it or not, so I will probably have to add that to Kaiju Connections in the near future.
Well, you're not the only
Daniel
one.
Miller. Shut
You're
up,
not-
Daniel Miller.
You're not the only one, Kevin, because I've never seen it either.
Well, then you're in for a treat. That's all I'll say.
But I've got a film that I would like to suggest for us to do together on your channel, since you want to talk about non-kaiju movies.
Mhm.
And obviously, we've already done. We did Forbidden Planet. We did Atragon. What about a film that was recently discovered only a couple of years ago that they thought was completely lost? They found it, they re-edited it, and they re-released it, and it's the first time it's ever been released on physical media. The Whale God.
Oh my God, that's something I have not even seen. I've heard of it, never watched it, but I think that would be something I would.
You know what? That's funny because I did buy that, and I have
Mhm.
watched that, and it is intriguing.
And it's available on Tubi.
Then I have to take a crack at it then and see it there, because that would be a good. Yes, I would definitely love to do that. I would love to talk about that, because I've seen so many times that the trailer for the advertising, but never sat down and watched it. So
It was a film that they thought was lost, and then I don't know the backstory. I'll have to re-look into it. But someone found like a reel of it, untouched, and they re-edited it, and then it's the first time it's ever been released, even in Japan, in so many years, because I thought it had been completely lost. I can't remember, Jake. I don't know with you watching and owning the DVD or Blu-ray. Is it a Toho film or a different studio film?
it's Daiei. I can tell you that now.
Well, it has the guy that played the doctor in the original. Doctor, not Dr. Sarasawa, but the other one that didn't want to kill Godzilla.
Yamane.
Yes, it has him in it.
Well,
So it might be a Dai, but I would have to rewatch it to make sure.
I believe it is, but I mean, I could be wrong too. I could be mistaken. So yeah.
But I know, Jake Hall, you do not have a channel, but you are always welcome on Kaiju Connections. You are always welcome on any podcast. Yeah, on the Entertainment Headquarters. You're a friend to me, a friend of the channel, a friend to all of us. And finally, Mr. Daniel Miller, what have you got in the works?
Oh,
Yes, Mr. Toothpick, what you got in the works?
Oh, I am cooking.
All
Yes,
right.
I can tell you this much. I am definitely cooking.
He's
Now,
turned
what I'm
into the Rock.
working
How many? How much you cooking? Like
Can
the
you
Rock,
smell what the Rock is cooking?
right?
Well, I'm not going to say too much because it's a passion project and it's being kept very closely under wraps. But what I can say is it's definitely going to be the biggest one I've done thus far. And it's both based on a fiction piece I've also been trying to write for radio, but that's been replaced with another project which is going ahead for radio. But this one,
Brilliant.
this
Congrats.
one, this, you will not be disappointed when I'm finished.
So you've heard it, yeah, folks. He's got his biggest OnlyFans collaboration in the future.
Wow.
Yep.
I thought I was the
Buy
only one
it.
all these fans.
Buy it if you dare. But
For just $10.99 a month.
I'm only $2.99 a month. But anyway, but that is it for Kaiju Connections. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation celebrating all things Howl from Beyond the Fog. It, for me, is like one of my secret favourites of the Kaiju genre. I find it so unique and so different. And I know for a fact if I see this thing when we head to Chicago for J-Fest, it's going to be entering my basket. But thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Gojira. Thank you for watching, DJ Anubis, Anthony Jordan, Socks and Snass, and I think it was, yes, Red Spirit 101. Thank you for all taking part in. And everybody, please like, share, and subscribe to Mr. Jedi Granville's Jedi Grand Productions. Please like, share, and subscribe to Dan Filliman. And if you wish, please like, share, and subscribe to Entertainment Headquarters and get more Kaiju Connections. But like I always say, keep on enjoying your movies, keep on enjoying all things entertainment. And just like my good friend, Mr. Jedi Granville, keep the Kaiju love alive.